a big problem is that we have a generation of individuals that have been raised to be soldiers in the gender war, meaning that we've raised our kids to not trust the opposite gender. I think how it relates to what we're talking about now is that you get a generation of kids of women who don't trust the dad to vet. That's why they don't introduce the guy. We have a generation of men who are saying that, well, my mom don't know nothing about no relationships or marriage because she's single mom anyway, and she out here working. But the reality is that each parent has had a lifetime of experiences. That's why I said the vetting process is broken in our community, because we just don't trust the older generations. We've got to do a better job of raising our kids to work in cooperation with each other, because otherwise we're just going to keep repeating the same results. The other thing I wanted to mention is that I agree with you, Ms. Taken, in the fact that you gave a great example of what can happen when we do raise our kids to trust the opposite gender. It's like your son trusts you, even though he's saying that he don't care about that stuff. All the married men on the panel know, that you're gonna care about that later. Because it's as his mom, you don't care about how fine she is. And you also don't care about how good her sex game is. And so those are things that trip a lot of men up when it comes to making a choice for a wife. Is that we get caught up in a lot of things that get superficial. But the only thing I'm gonna say about that is that the other thing I want to mention is that women will curve men overtly. They will shut it down, in the guy's face. Men, however, will curve women covertly. They're not going to say it. Marcus gave a great example of that. What usually happens is the guy will just keep having sex with her until something better comes along. I think Tricker Mike spoke about that earlier, is where, he was with that girl for an extended period of time, but then the minute, his wife came along, well, yeah, this is over. This is not going to work anymore. So, but yeah.
And I have a question for Shante about that. Can I go ahead? Okay. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. I remember when you were talking to Trigger Mike, you was asking him about roster. Yeah. So I have a question. Like when your friends, one of your friends come along and tell you, "Oh, I have a roster of men I'm seeing," what comes to mind? Like,
well, my friends would never use that word.
No, let's say if they used it, hypothetically, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
I don't know.
Is she a hoe? Just say it. Just say it.
Damn. I think
gotta be nice. You would be like, oh, she.
I think that so I'm gonna say this. I think that was a poor choice of words that B. Taylor, because we were talking about B. Taylor. I think that was poor choice of words for B. Taylor. And me have spoken to B. Taylor off the screen. I know that she doesn't move that way. I don't know why she chose that. I think that she tried to clean it up. I think
I saw that episode. I saw that
but
episode.
I do have friends who exercise their options. And I think it's more along the lines of the way Inaz stated. It's like you're dating. And I think that when people are serious with people, if they see a guy, one thing about women, this is me. This is just me. I can't say women. It's just me. When I find somebody I like, it's hard for me to even concentrate on anybody else for real. Whatever option there was, it kind of just dwindles away anyhow. So, because my attention is focused on that person. I don't even know how to.
Yeah, because I know that if a man hears that, they will be repulsed. Like regardless whether she's having sex or not, like they will be really repulsed by that.
And I want to clarify real fast before you say. I want to clarify. I didn't agree with the terminology. I didn't agree with that at all. You will hear me say consistently, I don't agree with that. It was just the conversation because I wanted to get clarity on the question, because we posed a question in the beginning about are you single until you marry? And I just wanted to know what that looked like. Does that look like a roster? Does that look like? I just wanted to know from a male's perspective.
So before Baron or any of the other gentlemen respond, so y'all know I like to give smoke to both genders, right? Men are totally fine being on the roster as long as it's not a potential wife.
Facts.
It's literally just about the delicacy and the way a woman presents her roster that makes the difference of whether she's wifeable or not. That's it. Because a woman is entitled to her options for the best mate as much as a man is. Because if a woman picks the wrong person, what's the feedback from men? You picked wrong. You didn't invite enough people to vet properly. You didn't do your job in terms of vetting that man out. You didn't pay attention to the red flags. We put the onus and responsibility on her. So the reality is that women have a roster. They're just not allowed to present it as a roster in order to preserve the integrity of the man that she actually chooses, because he can't look like the default win. He has to look like he's earned the championship ring. He has to earn that shit. Because if it's a participation trophy, he's not really husband worthy, and she's not a representation of what his capabilities actually are. So it's impugnant on women to maneuver that situation with the level of delicacy that keeps that man's ego intact, that I think a lot of women are missing out on. I think because a lot of women have been raised to be these strong, independent Black women, that we move with the same vigor and vitality that men do, without necessarily factoring in the feelings of the person that we're choosing at the end of the day. And if we're not doing that carefully, we're shooting ourselves in the foot and condemning ourselves to be the independent woman for the rest of our lives.
What she said.
But I think that is because if a man, like, even if you're trying to handle it very delicately, if a man even gets a whiff that you're talking to someone else, because men can usually sometimes sense that out. Like when they get a whiff of that, they are putting you in a box.
So Baron,
Nah, bro, we idiots, man. Come on now.
No,
What?
it's not even about idiots, right? Because again, I think men feign this level of like disintelligence in order to preserve masculinity. Let me put this plainly from a woman's perspective, right? No man that I have ever come across at any stage in my life, professional, personal, romantic, platonic, whatever the nature of the relationship is, wants to feel like he's getting a participation trophy. Every man wants to feel like when he chooses a woman that he's like the big dog on campus. Right? There's no question about that. Regardless of the nature of relationship, every man wants to feel like he's at the top of the totem pole. And that's not a bad thing. I think women demonize that in a way where, like, you know, men's egos are too much. I think a man's ego to a certain degree is really healthy and really important to the nature of a relationship, regardless of the nature of the relationship. The other part to that is that at the end of the day, if a woman is not working to make sure that her man that she is choosing does not feel like the top dog at all time, she's not truly living in her like ultimate femininity. If that man does not feel like he is like, he's it, he's desirable to all women, he's like, you know, the top of the food chain, all of this stuff, she's not really doing her job right. Right? And like, this might make me sound like a pick me and whatever, like, I'm cool with that. But at the end of the day, as a woman, your man that you choose, because as a woman, you have far more options than a man does. Even at a high value man, as an average woman, you have more options than the average person. If you are not making sure that that man feels special, that that man feels elite, that man feels valued, that that man feels seen, that that man feels like he is the leader of the relationship, if you are not doing your job as a woman, that's really where the competition as women comes in. That's really where another woman has space to squeeze in and be like, I'm more fitting to that man's view, that man's program, that man's vision for the rest of his life, that man's like, second in command, whatever it is. If you are not hyping up that, if you are not his number one cheerleader, you are doing a disservice to that man. And I think that's really where women kind of trip themselves up, where this idea of being a cheerleader to a man is viewed as being condescending, anti-feminist, all of this stuff, where it really becomes a problem. Because one, Black men are dope, regardless of like
He
socioeconomic.
sure is.
Regardless of,
Oh, now you like us. Now you like us.
I married one, so I've been like y'all.
You marry one and trash the rest of them on YouTube.
Listen, I have never.
I'm gonna speak on what you're talking about, Naz. After you done.
Yeah, no problem. I got you. I've never trashed Black men ever on any platform at any point in time. I think Black men are super dope. I think Black men are the leading example of manhood. I think that Black men are like
the other light bright
fathers that exist.
What?
Because I
don't like accountability either.
Hold on.
I
this
come
one right
from
here.
father.
This one right here.
I have huge respect for Black men. I cannot wait to be married to a Black man. I cannot wait to have children for like the dopest Black man. Like I think like Black men are really, truly, genuinely like the creme of the crop, right? But if you are not the woman who is positioning yourself to support somebody in that fashion, you're doing yourself as a disservice. Whether it's you're picking the wrong person or you truly don't believe in that, you are doing yourself a disservice. And I think if more women were more honest in the way that they were vetting and were more honest in the way that they were vetting with the men in their lives, I think this whole game would be at a very different like status perspective, whatever, however you want to position that, right? At the end of the day, you cannot position yourself as a wife without being a support system to the man that you are choosing. Whether you are putting your career first, whether you're putting family first, whatever it is that you are putting yourself first as, if you are not positioning yourself as a support system to the man who is leading everything, you are doing yourself a huge, huge, huge disservice. Modern relationship, traditional relationship, however it is that you want to place it, right? Because like there's no monolith for people. If you are not putting that man first and you are not putting yourself as a support system to him, none of this makes sense. None of it. Not family, not relationship, not community, not career, nothing. Nothing makes sense if you are not putting that man first. That's it. Like, obviously God, but that man comes second. It is a very, very, very close second.
And I just want to clarify, when I was saying, when that man gets a whiff of you talking to someone and he's gonna put you in a box, I mean, like in a sex only category, like you say he's gonna put you in a sex only category, or he just walks away. And I was just trying to clarify that.